What up, Randies? You know, it's weird. Despite Sonic the Hedgehog 2 being one of my top 5 favorite video games of all time, and the titular blue blur being my favorite video game protagonist, I've yet to make a Sonic the Hedgehog video. I think the main reason for this is that since childhood, Sonic just hasn't been as much a part of my recent life. I enjoyed Sonic Unleashed and the original adventure, but besides those games and his inclusion into the Smash Bros. Series, October 10th, 2007 is a day I will never forget. I just don't have any fond 3D memories with the games. That's not to say they're bad. In fact, many loyal fans applauded both Colors and Generations for their fresh mechanics and heartfelt tribute respectively. But why after all this time am I making a top 5 list on this series? Because of these games right here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2 December, where every Saturday I'll be taking a look at some of the best 2D gaming franchises ever produced, and today we're looking at the top 5 2D Sonic the Hedgehog games of all time. No, not that modern pile of garbage that the internet loves to hate. I'm talking about the one that started it off. The original Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega Genesis. Like many kids, this was my first experience with the beloved franchise, and from the moment I heard the iconic Sega, I was hooked. Despite being only number 5 on this list, I can't dismiss how revolutionary the game was. When the world was full of platformers like Super Mario Bros. And arguably Mega Man, Sonic came bursting onto the scene with his trademark attitude and just stood out. The gameplay is extremely tight for a first outing, and for the most part the levels are inventive, have their own identity, and are each fun in their own right. Personally, I do feel the best one is still the iconic Green Hill Zone, but overall it's a great, albeit short game. So why only number 5? Well, as I just mentioned, it's not only the shortest game on this list, but also in general the platforming, zones, and mechanics would only improve with each subsequent release. Also, I personally feel like Marble Zone maybe shouldn't have been the second zone, as it features very specific platforming segments and just sort of kills the momentum early on. But for starting the trend, introducing me to that soundtrack, and hooking me from the get-go, this game deserves the number 5 spot. Okay, so I know this one's a bit of a cheat. Sonic 4 Episode 1 is a very recent title that essentially remasters some of the best stages and elements of Sonic 1 and 2. But you know what? I had a lot of fun playing this one, despite how much it borrows. Players can choose between 4 main zones based on the previous games in this very back-to-basics entry in the series that once again lets players take control of Sonic the Hedgehog, and only Sonic the Hedgehog, to stop Dr. Robotnik's plan. Yes, the levels, bosses, and even special stages are ripped right out of previous games, and yeah, Sonic's momentum still isn't quite as natural as the Genesis games felt. But I love this game because it gave me exactly what I wanted at the time, an improved version of Sonic's best features. The level design is some of the tightest in the 2D series. Additions like Vines are a blast, and it offers achievements, time trials, and many other reasons to play long after the credits roll. So yeah, it's not a very original game and was actually really difficult to put above the first one, but it matters where it counts the most. It's fun. Okay, now we're approaching the real summit of the franchise, as Sonic CD is probably the series' most inventive and replayable of all time. Featuring memorable cutscenes, an antagonist much cooler and more threatening than Robotnik, or Eggman, whatever, and the introduction of time travel, this one has a lot going on, but the payoff is very worth it. This game was actually developed alongside Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and as such features the return of that game's signature spin dash technique, as well as introduces the Super Peel Out, which helps flesh out the platforming possibilities even more than the past 2 entries. But let's get to the highlight of this game, its different pathways. Each level features a good and bad future that the player can determine by traveling to the past, and each one of these variant timelines features new enemy placement, level design, and music. This is the Thinker Sonic the Hedgehog game, and for all of the risks it takes and its crazy attention to detail, it earns its number 3 spot. Sonic 2 is my personal choice for top 2D Sonic game, but in terms of being the best, I can't quite put it at the top and keep a clean conscience. It's close. I mean, it introduced the Spin Dash, offers a robust selection of levels and zones, features probably the most iconic and rehashed final boss fight and special stages in the entire series of games, and gave us both Tails and Super Sonic. But yes, it's still only number 2. The truth is, this game does exactly what a sequel should do, which is expand on ideas without ruining the mechanics that make a game good in the first place. It's faster, brighter, and has more variety than its predecessor, and it's honestly a perfect game if you remove Aquatic Ruin and that pit from the Mystic Cave Zone. It's just, well, Sega got really good at making sequels. Look, a decade ago, I could have separated these games on a list like this, but even if I did, I still would have put Sonic 3 all by itself at the very top. It's just such a forward-thinking game, way ahead of its time. It doesn't have as creative level design as Sonic CD, and it didn't invent the wheel like Sonic 1 and arguably 2, but honestly, it has more variety in level design, bonus stages, boss fights, scope, and music than those others combined. In fact, Michael friggin' Jackson actually helped create the music for this extraordinary game, and that's back when the man was in his prime. It's massive, especially with its lock-on technology, and offers the first real epic Sonic storyline within the game. But I can only say so much about this monster as an objective fan, as like I've already said, I still personally prefer Sonic 2. So to really sell this one home, here's my great friend and extraordinary chiptune composer Arcane Toaster on why Sonic 3 is the best 2D game in the series.
Not only is Sonic 3 a fantastic platformer and one of the most polished games of the 16-bit era, it's also one of my favorite games of all time. The graphics are beautiful, with some of the best parallax growing up ever seen from a 2D game, and the music is pure ear candy with some of the catchiest tunes in all of video games. The levels are all incredibly memorable, and the final boss is incredible. There's little reason for you to skip out on this title if you're a fan of 2D platformers.
Piece of cake! Well, there you have it. My top 5 best 2D Sonic the Hedgehog games. Agree with my picks? Think Sonic Spinball should have made it? Let me know your picks in the comments below. And look forward to next week as we continue to celebrate 2 December with the top 5 best 2D Zelda games. That'll be one you don't want to miss. Make sure you subscribe and share the video if you like what you see, and as I always say, happy hunting, baby hedgehogs. Wait a second.